fascinated with the dynamic of people wanting to defend Tim Steidten, and I've sort of been trying to figure it out in my mind. What is it? What's the motivation? Because I do think, certainly amongst a number of West Ham fans, he's ring-fenced. Thou shalt not criticise Tim, and I certainly have been pretty critical of him. So I've felt the pushback against that, and I saw it. I think it really came to the fore yesterday with some of the reporting of Niclas Füllkrug's injury record, and I wondered why it was. Why is it that people don't want Tim to be criticised? And I think I've sussed it out. I might be wrong. Be interested to know what you think here. And I think the first one is Tim is seen to be Kretinsky's man. In fact, I think he is Kretinsky's man. I think Kretinsky was so unhappy with what was happening at West Ham that he decided that what West Ham needed was a director of football. And because I agree with that, I want a director of football. I agree with that. I think because people were so desperate for that to work, people don't want Steidten to fail. So I'll give you an example. Any time that I have said that Tim Steidten has fallen out with David Moyes or Julian Lopetegui, particularly when I join them back together, particularly when I say, oh, he's fallen out with both those people, I always get a pushback on it. People don't like me saying it. I didn't make it up. I've not made that up, right? Steidten was banned from the training ground by David Moyes. 6 months later, he was banned from the training ground by Julian Lopetegui. And I've not made that up. So obviously when I hear that, I think, hold on a second, this ain't right. He's falling out with people here. So, but when I say that, people don't like it. And I feel people are protective of Steidten. I think, well, why is this? And I think one of the other reasons is because he's not David Sullivan. So I think because of that, maybe people are willing to overlook any sort of failings that he might have. And I do find it really, really interesting because I believe that I don't just believe there's one pantomime villain at the club. I don't believe that anyone's 100% bad, anyone's 100% good. I do think some people are incrementally bad, some people are really bad, some people are incompetent, some people just can't get on with other people. I've never thought anything was black and white. I think there's huge grey area where all manner of things happen. My only evidence of Steidten is that he doesn't seem to get on with his head coaches very well. Hence the reason I said if I was Graham Potter, I'd be sleeping one eye open on this one. And again, received a bit of pushback on that. But why would you not? Well, I don't understand why anyone wouldn't. If you were going to go and if you started a job in a new company and, you knew that and your supervisor, basically the last person, the last two people that had your role, your basic supervisor who you're going to go and work under basically had been reported to HR, that would make you wary. You would go into that job thinking, right, okay, I'm going to have to tread a little bit carefully here. And that's all I think's happened there. But it's really interesting. And I wonder if some of it's happened with the reporting of Niclas Füllkrug. Because some really, really interesting limiting of the metrics came out last night regarding Fullkrug's injury record. Just go back to September. Fullkrug got injured. I didn't know. I was quite happy for Fullkrug to come in. I didn't know anything about him at all. When he got injured in September, somebody said, "Well, this is nothing new." Particularly with it started off being Achilles, but it turned out ankle injuries. Somebody said, particularly with it being an ankle injury. And I think even the first time I ever heard it, myself and Gia were doing a build-up show, and somebody had said, "Hold on, this guy's missed 600 odd days, and gave it whatever out of the last 5 years." I think it was since 2019. It was something like that. I thought, oh wow, really? Now I did a video on it in this channel. I didn't know, so I went and did some research. And when I did the research on Fullkrug's injury record, I thought, oh okay, that matches what that person had typed into the live chat on the build-up show. He is an injury-prone player. In the case you start looking, well, why have we signed this guy? Why have we signed this injury-prone player? That was that. I've not revisited the statistics since, now, basically. And the reason I've done it now is because yesterday a load of statistics started being thrown out there. I did my video yesterday, and some people were sort of pushing back, saying, "Hold on, you're misrepresenting. You're misrepresenting. No such word. What you're reporting, your video is misrepresentative of Fullkrug's injury record. Fullkrug, and here's what came out. Fullkrug has only missed, I think it's sort of less than 10 games in the last 3 years." So I took that. Oh, right, okay. Well, why would someone say that? So basically, they're saying that I'm saying he's injury prone, and actually, we're going to give you this data back to tell you he is not injury prone. Now, I'm always interested when people limit the amount of data you're allowed to have. And I said this really recently. I don't know if you remember. I was on a video with Gio, and I mentioned it. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Somebody on commentary said, Lucas Paqueta, this was maybe last month or something. Someone said, Lucas Paqueta has not created an assist in these last 23 games. I said to Gio, 23 games, that is a weird statistic, right? I think at this point in time, we've done 18 games in the season. Why wouldn't you just say this season? But they've tried to stretch it out for as long as they could. And there's a reason that it was 23 and not 24 games, because on the 24th game he got an assist, and actually 2 games before that he got an assist. Because I'll tell you why, saying Lucas Paqueta has only got 5 assists in the last 30 games doesn't sound as nasty as saying Lucas Paqueta's got no assists in 23 games. By the way, I know Lucas Paqueta's been crap. I'm just saying, my point is not about Lucas Paqueta. My point is that people will limit the statistics to suit their argument. So when I heard yesterday, well, hold on, Niclas Füllkrug is not injury prone. He is for the last 3 years, he has been pretty much uninjured. And I had a look, and I've got no axe to grind here. And he's not. That is true. That is true. That he's not been injured. He's been pretty much injury free for the last 3 years. The problem is when you go back to the 4th and the 5th and the 6th. The point is, if what you're going to do is make an argument that Niclas Füllkrug is not injury prone, you can only use the last 3 years. The fact of the matter is, the ankle injury he had in September was his 4th ankle injury. The fact of the matter is, by the time he's finished this season, he'll have done over 1,200 days of his career, his whole career, his 12-year career, injured. That basically, Niclas Füllkrug misses over a quarter of his career. Now, it's up to you to decide whether that's acceptable or whether that's injury prone. He's had knee injuries on 3 occasions. One of them, cruciate. I don't know enough about, medical stuff. I really don't. Basically, he averages about 3 injuries a season. I think there's a reason you don't go back to the 4th year, because if you go back to the 4th year, he missed over 100 days of injury. Go back to the 1920 season, he missed pretty much a whole year. Go back before that, he missed 157, 160 days. You start going back there, and almost every other year he misses sort of like 150 days, something like that. It's hard not to read his record with numerous knee injuries, numerous ankle injuries, over a quarter of it missed. It's hard. It's really, really hard to read that and not conclude that he is injury prone. In fact, it is no surprise. You'd almost read that and say, well, he was due an injury, wasn't he? And you look at that, as I say, he averages 2 to 3 injuries a season, a lot of which keep him out for long, long periods of time. So I looked at it and I thought, why? I would understand, by the way, why Borussia Dortmund would want to give over that information, but I didn't understand why West Ham fans would want to give over that information initially. But I think I do, because I think it's about Tim Steidten. It's sort of like if you're selling a car. If you've got a 12-year-old car and someone says, have you got a full service history? I've got the last 3 years. Well, that indicates that something before those 3 years was dodgy, and that'd be right. This is the case in this instance. But I just found it weird that people were offering up 3 years of evidence of Fullkrug to make the case that he wasn't injury prone. And I think it was because of the criticism of Tim Steidten. I think it was an attempt to make Steidten look better. That actually people could say, actually, no, this wasn't a risky transfer. This was a good transfer. It's not. And I'm not sure redacting or doctoring the figures helps. Well, I don't think it helps Tim, or I don't think it helps Fullkrug, or helps anyone. It's been a bad transfer. I think most people would concede that. I think then you've got to ask yourself, okay, if it's a bad transfer, it's just been a bolt out of the blue. Let me tell you what a bolt out of the blue would be. Somebody that has never had serious injury, signing him and him getting injured. That's not what we've got here. He's had numerous serious injuries. He's missed almost a year, one of the year. He's had multiple injuries. So honestly, it's hard to look through his record and find a bit of him that has not been broken. And it's a shame, and I wish it wasn't the case. I wish that wasn't the case. I really do. I really enjoyed the way he's played when I've seen him play, and I've said on numerous occasions I'd like to discover more about him. And but I just found it interesting. I just wanted to redress the balance there because, you know, I don't want to be accused of having a vendetta against Fullkrug or doctoring the figures. I'm really not. The stuff I've told you is the whole lot. The whole lot. I'm not trying to be duplicitous with it or misrepresent it. I can't even bloody say the word. I'm not trying to misrepresent anyone. I'm really not. I just think it's been a bad transfer, and I think if we'd have done our due diligence on it, it could have worked out better. Now, I mean, whereas I don't think that's always the case. I think with the Scamacca one, Scamacca missed pretty much half a season, didn't he, for West Ham? I don't think there was anything in his career to suggest that was going to happen. So I think, you know, but I think sometimes we do just sign injury-prone players. If you go back to Andy Carroll, that's the case. And I think with that in mind, I can understand why Steidten is under scrutiny for that. I think it was just that, and it was just that alone. I don't think you've got a problem. I think if you're going to do that, and you're going to fall out with coaches as well, and you're going to paint a big target on yourself. And it's not that and that's all I think it is. I think it's not even a protection of Steidten. I think people are concerned, and I think people think, well, hold on, if we lose Steidten, that's it, it's all gone. There's no more director of football, and I get that. But I still have a little bit of hope in my West Ham heart here, and that is that Potter gets his feet under the table. All I can ever do is hope for the best. I didn't, you know, I had low expectations of Potter, and he wasn't particularly who I wanted to bring in. But now he's in, I'm not even going to try and warm to him. I already have warmed to him, and I'm just going to try and get invested in what he's trying to do, get invested in his tactics. And I think if he can improve things even a little bit, and he can, whether he's got the 2.5-year deal or whether, you know, there's an opt-out or whatever the case is, I hope, I like what was said from the club, which is we hope he's here for the next 5-10 years. I hope that as well, because it means I would hope it means he's done really well. And I think if that's the case and he stays here, I don't really care who the director of football is. I just want them to be good. And I think if Potter's here, then the concept is not dead in the water. So even if Steidten doesn't work out, then maybe we get Dan Ashworth. Maybe we get this other fella, his name, Macaulay, I can't even remember, whatever his name is, the guy from Chelsea. We get the talent spotter, we get the director of football, we get an infrastructure. And that ultimately is all I care about. And I think that's all the majority of the people are they're just concerned at being, any time you mention Steidten, whoa, and it's not, I don't think it's about Steidten. I really don't. It's about, don't you dare, we don't want Sullivan doing all the transfers again. That's what I think it is. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Who bloody knows? But there you go. Anyway, that's what I think. I'd be interested to know. Do you think that? Do you think? Go and have a look yourself. Don't take my word for it. Go and have a look at Niclas Füllkrug's injury record. Let me know whether you think he's injury prone. It's hard. No one's going to come back and say, actually, I think it was an excellent transfer. It seemed like a risk to me, and I think what doesn't help is the contrast when you contrast that alongside the guy we nearly got and didn't get, which is John Duran. I think this is looking even worse.